thoughts of Mike Steph, this marks a new beginning. Thanks for supporting a total reinvention. The soul is still here, but the vibe's a little different. Unpredictable, hide the kids and the women. Sports of all sorts, music mixed for living. Rep New York City, but hate the politicians. Always bring the heat, Steph bacon in the kitchen. Big shout to y'all, I appreciate the listen. Donnie put the rest, but I'm still in the best. In the word of what I do, all y'all know the rest. I live it, I breathe it, I'm the whole definition. The pinnacle, the ultimate, I'm on a new mission. The salty thoughts of Mike Steph, featuring the one and only Mike Steph, the best in the world of what he does. Tap in. What up, people? I said, what up, people? I'm already embracing the mess early in this episode, but y'all know who I be. Y'all know who this is. This is Mike Steph, and the host of the Salty Thoughts of Mike Steph podcast. I'd like to thank each and every one of y'all for making me and this here podcast the one y'all choose to listen to. Normally, I have a little ditty at the very beginning, either a poem, a verse, a rap. No, we're going to get straight to the subject at hand. This is a very special episode. I know I've said that in the last couple of weeks, but that's because it's been special the last couple of weeks, and it just continues to get more special because I have a special guest that I will be introducing in a very few minutes. This week, I have the special guest that has been a long time coming. Someone that has many hats, many talents. I'll just give you a little hint. He's a teacher. He's a husband. He's a father. And he's a friend. Yes, indeed. And without further ado, because I could feel a real famous tangent coming along, I'm going to bring him on the stage right now.
Amazing. Thank you for that intro. I got to tell you that intro music in the headphones when we're here live, absolute bop. I was having a good time in this office. I'm a little warm right now, actually. Thank you so much for having me on. This is a long time coming. We've been trying to get this together for what feels like a year and a half now, and it might be pretty close.
Yeah, that sounds about right. For those who don't know, when I always come in and talk about GI, Gimmick Infringement, on the 19 Media Group YouTube channel and the 19 Media Group Media Network, and I say Winchester and McDowell. Well, y'all have already met McDowell, not once, but twice. This is Mr. Winchester, Mr. Brad Winchester, the mastermind behind my rebranding, a very close confidant of mine, someone who has actually taught me more than he probably realizes he's taught me. And that's probably going to be one of the subjects that we'll get into. So this week will be more of an interview type style where I will be asking that man right there a whole bunch of questions, a whole bunch of topics, and we'll pretty much riff off the topics that come in hand. So first and foremost, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's Sunday as we record this. Behind the scenes Jones here. It's hot out. I'm glad to be inside right now. I think we have like a high of 105 today out in the desert, and we got a lot of rain last night, so the humidity might be not coming down from the sky today, but it's all evaporating upwards. So it's walking out into the hot and the humid. So I'll take the 76 in here any day. 76 and pretty dry. I'm having a good time. School year's off to a good start. GI's rolling. It's all good here.
That's great.
How you doing, man? I got questions for you later. Don't think you're getting off this. Yeah, we got it. Yeah.
You can lay them off. I'm letting y'all know right now. I mean, my regular listeners should know, and if there's any new viewers, I want to let y'all know that this is going to be a no holds barred type of episode, and I say that in the most positive way, meaning this is a gentleman, this is a friend that in my past iteration, let's say, I'll probably not be as open with as I am or as I have been. We do share some things in common,
Mhm.
But I've always felt from the initial conversation and conversations afterward, I've always felt at ease, a calm, and knowing that my trust in him would never be betrayed. And he's always been a calming influence for yours truly, whether he believes it, realizes it or not. So like I said, we're gonna have a good time. We're gonna have a great time, and I'm gonna start off like this. Introducing Mr. Winchester. Now, I have 3 particular questions that I'm going to give you, and you can answer in whatever order you want to answer them.
Okay.
You have a background in graphic design. You are a set designer, and you are a podcaster. Now, one of the things that I neglected to mention during that triple would be you are an educator. Now, how long have you been in education, and what got you into that field? What sparked your interest in becoming an educator?
Okay, I'll start with what sparked my interest. Well, I guess I could start with how long I've been here. This is my 18th year teaching, so 16 years where I currently am in Marana, Arizona, and 2 years in a place called Monroe, Wisconsin. Just I think it's like 10 miles north of the Illinois border, 25-minute drive from where we live to Madison. And what got me into it was a guy named Doug Fix. So, man, it's a winding path. So I don't know, buckle up. I wanted to go into sound engineering. I wanted nothing to do with education. And this was step 2, because at first I was like, I have no idea what I want to do. I need structure in my life. I don't have any. I've always struggled with attention and purpose and managing my anger and other emotions. Learning now as an adult that that's all a byproduct of the ADD stuff. I'm sure we'll touch on that later, but it was, I'm going to go into the military and figure it out first. My dad was in the National Guards. My great uncle served in World War II. And I thought, like, well, I could go, I'll get my college paid for maybe. And because I didn't want to go to college right away, but I knew I wasn't going to be able to just do nothing. So until I figured that out, I was like, go do that. I talked to the Air Force recruiter. Now, this is before 9/11. So after 9/11, things changed a little bit. But right before 9/11, they were actually cutting back on how many people they wanted. So they were being a little bit more selective. And they were like, so you're short. I'm like, at the time in high school, I was 5'8".
Okay.
Now I say at the time because that's me sucking in, leaning hard against the wall and like stretching to get to 5'8". One of those kinds of 5'8". I'm really probably 5'7". And I was told that if you want to be a pilot, you can forget about it, because the seats at the time for a fighter plane anyway were, you had to be between 5'10" and 6'2". They didn't exactly make adjustable seats for fighter planes. So yeah, well now you can. Apparently there's a bigger range and you can move stuff around and it's more accommodating to height. But at the time that wasn't so. And they asked about like any mental conditions. I'm like, yeah, ADD. I got bad eyes. By the way, I got asthma. And they were just like, so we're good. So that was that. When the Air Force was like, yeah, pass. I went, all right, well, the Army's not going to fare better. I probably could have done the guards looking back at it, but I don't know that I would have passed a physical with flying colors. It's just weird because I was also, in cross country and other sports, basketball, and I never really had a problem. The asthma was usually from allergies. So unless they were going to send me into battle to fight dust mites, I was probably going to be okay. So I ended up
very underrated, though.
Yes, yeah. When I found out about dust mites, it was the mattress thing. It was your mattress weighing like 2 or 3 times more when you get rid of it than when you get it. I was so grossed out by that, but that explains the sneezing. So I was like, well, what else do I love? Well, I love music. Been involved in music my whole life. Band, choir. My senior year, I finally got past the People would tell me I have a nice voice and all that stuff, and then I didn't believe him. So my last year, I was like, you know what, I'm going to audition for this musical. I'm already in the choir. I did the intro choir, and I got a part, but it wasn't like a role. It wasn't like a main part. I was just sort of I was one of the brothers in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. It was just sort of, it was just over there. I didn't have a big role. I was Benjamin. My only difference between the other brothers is I was in jail for a scene. While they sang about how I'm innocent. And I was like, I really love music. I spent money to buy my own mixer. Like I had a board and everything. I think it was a 16 channel mixer, and wanted to start recording and do all this stuff. And I was like, sound engineering sounds awesome. All the things that I was interested in, if I could pass on advice to anybody, it's you got to commit to it fully or don't do it at all. Because if you are going to go into this thing, what's the Ron Swanson thing? Never half-ass anything, whole ass one thing.
Okay.
And I tell my kids all the time, don't have a backup plan, because if you have a backup plan, it means you're not committed to the thing you want to do. So just, stop. Don't do it. You're too scared. It's not worth your time. You don't believe in yourself. And they often get mad at me for that. I'm like, well, then why do you have a backup plan? Well, in case it goes wrong. Why do you think it's going to go wrong if you believe in yourself? I didn't have that when I was younger, so I bailed on it because I found out how hard it is to get a job with a sound engineering degree. So, there was also a lot of math that I didn't anticipate when I looked at the schedule, and I was like, whoa. Yeah, I suppose acoustic design, how sound moves in a room and in a space with different materials, is probably going to be some physics math I didn't really think about. And it led me to talking to Doug Fix, my favorite teacher probably ever, that I said, I'm thinking about going into elementary education. And he told me flatly, he's like, elementary, secondary, whatever you decide, I think you would be an incredible teacher because you know what it's like to be there, and you still can, how to talk to people, and you know how to talk to kids, and you know how to respect people where they are. And I've never really had a problem just speaking with kind of anybody, and I can talk to anybody. And that's a skill set that you need in education when you have people from all walks. And that was kind of that. I went into elementary ed. I did that for 3 or 4 years. I can't remember how many it was, but it cost me a year of high school or of college. When I switched to high school, to secondary education, I tutored second graders, and it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It was really difficult with older kids. If they have trouble at home, if their mom works all the time or their dad works all the time, and maybe they have some issues at home, they don't know how to articulate it. They just act out, they cry, and it's just crushing to watch. And I was like, I am not built for this. I cannot do this age level. I need to be able to talk to that person. So I switched to secondary ed. I had a major in English and a minor in history, and I took the closest job I could find to me, which was right here in Marana, Arizona, because at the time there were 2,000 jobs available in the state of Michigan, or no, take that back, 300 jobs available in the state of Michigan.
Ooh.
And 3,000 teachers waiting, new and like just kind of waiting to get into a spot. I had no shot. Things have changed since then, Mike. I could probably point at a map and go, I want to work there and get a job there, because it's just different now. So yeah, it led me out here, and I'm glad for it, because every good thing that's happened to me in my life has been because of that decision.
Now I have a follow-up question. Could you mention the origins?
Mm-hmm.
Now, you are from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
Yes, sir.
Can you expound about your experiences and the differences from, I'm born and bred in New York.
Yeah.
I've moved in. I've lived in 4 of the boroughs of New York. I've lived in Buffalo, but pretty much I'm New York centric. So anything Midwest, especially, anything Michigan, Wisconsin, I'm totally foreign to. So give a little bit of a background of your upbringing in the UP.
The UP is full of Youpers. UP. The people from there are Upers. The UP is often left off maps. I am proud of being from the UP. I'm also proud that I made it out of the UP. And I'll say it like that. I love the people that are still there, that are part of my life, and I think there are really good people there. They're the kind of people that, like, you'll get stuck in a snowbank or something. Someone not long from when you get stuck is going to be behind you asking if you need help, that will be willing to pull you out and do that. Like, that place it's just full of people like that. But like any other place in the Midwest, that is a small town, and there's no big towns up there. I used to think that, oh man, we're going to Marquette, we're going to a city. Marquette is like 40,000 people when school's in session, and that's the biggest city in the Upper Peninsula. Yeah.
Oh wow.
I'm not sure what the population is now, but I know that whole area is sort of getting smaller as the urbanization of America continues to happen, because people got to go where the jobs are, and they're just not a lot up there. So the population is declining, but it's also one of those untouched wonders of the world that it's just so beautiful, man. It's when you go looking for the beauty. Now, I think it's like out here, like my kids are like, oh, I can't wait to leave. I can't wait to get out of Arizona. And I'm like, I'm telling you, you don't know what you're asking. Yeah, I want to live in snow. And it's like, no. You want to live in the idea of snow. You don't want to live in snow. You want to live in snow's idea. You don't know what it's like when you go to the store. You got to scrape your windows and brush off your windows, get in the car, get to the store. You're in there 20 minutes, get back in the car, and you got to do that shit all over again. Or you got to kick the mud chunks off your mud flaps. And sometimes you hit them on the road and you think, I just could have just hit a body. I don't know. Something just went bouncing underneath the car and you have no idea. Like it's just different. It was a lot of that. I can't remember a lot of Halloweens where we went trick-or-treating where it wasn't snowing and I wasn't in a snowsuit because it was 30 degrees or 28 degrees or whatever. It was just miserable. And then our first track meets in April were always canceled because it was snowing outside or there was an ice storm or something. So we would have 7 months of winter, and then our spring was melt. And by the time it was melted, summer. And I hated spring because it was just gross all the time. Summers were amazing though. You can go to the lake. Nobody has air conditioners, I swear, up there, because you need them a couple of days out of the year. And trust me, I wanted one, but I had a basement. I had a perfectly good basement. So when it got too hot outside, it was, let me put the sleeping bag on the ground. I'll go down there and sleep with the pill bugs and watch some Letterman on my rabbit ears down by the pool table that we had in our rec room. It was awesome. You had to like the outdoors.
Okay.
But it was so small that it was like, it was the typical 80s, 90s stereotype kids experience. It's kids riding around on bikes and you come home when the porch light comes on and you just go do whatever. It was, all right, we're going to play Ghost in the Graveyard at 9:00. As soon as the sun goes down, we play Ghost in the Graveyard out in the yards. And I don't know if you've ever played Ghost in the Graveyard, but
no.
It's awesome. It's it's got a bunch of different names, but it's one person is it. You go hide, and then everybody else has to count to whatever 100 and hang out on their safe zone, their goal, and they would go out and try to find the ghost. And the idea is once you see the ghost, you call out Ghost in the Graveyard. Ghost has got to tag you, and you're only safe if you can get back to that safe area. So it's always like 10 kids jumping up onto the porch trying not to get tagged. We played that like kick the can rules basically.
Okay.
But yeah, it's all the same. Instead of kicking a can, you tag somebody. Yeah. Yeah, it was awesome. So small town stuff. Great for families. It's just really isolated. It's just, like there's culture, but it's revolving around the town, not revolving around like a heritage.
Okay.
There's no like there were some Polish things. They had like pierogi day and all this other stuff, but I'm adopted. My whole life I went, I don't really know. Should I be celebrating this? Because I don't know if I'm Polish. I don't know if I'm Swedish. I don't know any of these things. I got this going on and this going on, and that's it's about all I got. And so does everybody else around me, because that's the way it is up there.
Okay.
Yes, that was my experience up there going, wow, yeah, our minority group, the Italians, was really, really up there. Making friends with the one black male student in my class and asking out the one black female student and catching the ire of my grandparents when I disclosed that. I don't even think I told my parents about that.
Oh wow.
That kind of stuff was kind of the way it was. And everybody that didn't look like me was adopted. Everybody. I think it's changed since then a little bit for diversity wise, but
Okay.
Marquette was a much more diverse area just because the university was up there. So, and when I say much more, I'm not, the bar was set pretty low. So, but
you have
it was,
5.
yeah, it's like you go up there, you're like, wow, a car full, amazing. And then, like my neighbor across the apartment, John, I was like, oh wow, this is cool. We have a black neighbor. This is great. John was from Kenya. So it's not like we're getting locals. It's people coming from all over the place for scholarships, or because the campus would have like a specific, we are trying to diversify our area and our campus. We should probably actively try to do those things. But it is a tough sell to tell people to come up to Lake Superior and be like, yeah, oh, you're from California. You'll love it here. Cause you won't. You just won't. There was tunnels on that campus, Mike, and it was just so you don't die in the snow.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, yeah. Northern Michigan University, go Wildcats.
Like, I lived in Buffalo for 6 months.
Lake effect snowstorm, man. You understand?
Yeah, that's the first time I ever heard of lake effect snow.
Yeah,
and I've heard and I found out what the terminology of a whiteout meant.
It's real.
Like, it was like the middle of 7th grade. My godmother, she came down and she moved my mother and me up on New Year's Day. No, matter of fact, December 30th. That's when she moved us up. So we drive up there in this old Cadillac. Maybe it might have been a Cadillac. It's 89.
It's bringing you up during peak awful. Like, it's going to get worse. February is a nightmare.
Oh, it got worse because
yes,
on New Year's Day,
what
she decided to do, which I got it. All right, you're up here. Let's see the sights. So we went to Niagara Falls on New Year's Day. Now, I will say the Canadian side is much better than the American side. The American side had some type of metal barricade. It looked like it wasn't taken care of. So you have all the water that's coming off the falls. Is that this thick layer of ice. So you don't want to get too close. It just looks so ghetto. But then we went to the Canadian side. I believe I want to say the mall was the Rainbow Mall. I'm not quite sure. I don't remember. But from there you can see the lights cascading off the falls. It just looked beautiful. I can truthfully say, before my last foray on a cruise last year, that I was out the country. I went through customs. I went to Canada. But like you said, it was winter up until April.
Yeah.
And then it thawed out. May, I think around the end of April was probably the time I didn't see any leftover patches of snow. And then we moved back down. We moved back down the end of May. When school was out, my mother was like, nah, peace. I got to get back to the city. I lived 2 blocks away from the old War Memorial Stadium before they went to Orchard Park. I lived 2 blocks from there.
Wow.
If you Google it, you can ask the grocery store that I used to frequent, because they had some type of video game that I would go in there and play, because it was right next to the house. If you Google it and you go down, I think it's Best Street, and you see this little convenience store, and then there's a house next to the store. That's where I grew up. It's actually still on Google Maps.
That's really cool.
And I could find out, like, the junior high school I went to, of course, MLK. That was down the hill, and we lived. Anytime I bump into somebody that says they're from Buffalo, I always ask them, "Are you near the fruit district?" They're like, fruit district. I'm like, yeah, because there was a neighborhood called the Fruit District because all the streets were named after fruit. So you had Grape Street, Orange Street, Apple Drive. So they used to call that the Fruit District. But I actually I liked it up there. That was my first time that I realized that us New Yorkers are the ones with the accent, not anybody else. Because when I went up there, as soon as I opened my mouth, they knew I was from the city. Everybody up there sounded like they was from down south. Everybody had a country accent. So they're like, where you from? I'm like, I'm from New York. I'm from Brooklyn. No, matter of fact, people from Brooklyn, we don't say we're from New York. We don't say we're from the city. We say we're from Brooklyn. So where you from? Brooklyn. You don't sound like you from Brooklyn. I'm like, you don't sound like you from New York. Like, why you sound like you're from North Carolina? And you're like the furthest north it could be that I know. You know, so I had a couple people, they would tell me, they had the audacity to tell me, you're not from Brooklyn, you're lying. You have a Queens accent. I'm like, what the fuck is a Queens accent? I don't have a Queens accent. I mean, you don't even know what the city looks like, smells like. You would think, me being from the city, that I would be a chick magnet. No, they looked at me like I was the plague. So, but yeah, I have that in common of the small town, even though it's for 6 months, just that extreme northern city. My daughter, my lovely Mia, that makes cameos on this platform. She went to Fredonia University. Well, yeah, she went to Fredonia College, which is about 45 minutes away from Buffalo, which is 500 miles away from the city. I sent her up there. And needless to say, once the pandemic hit and everything closed down, and we had to rescue her because they gave her 3 days notice. Pack your shit, get off campus. So meanwhile, now my car was local at the time. So for a trip, I had to get a rental. Had to figure out I get days off, the whole nine. But yeah, 2 winters she spent up there, and I'll truthfully say it probably hardened her, and for the better, because it was tough. She was up there. She faced discrimination. The first day she gets there, she gets her roommate. Now her roommate conversed over online in the lead up when they realized, all right, we're roommates. So we're moving the stuff in, and the roommate and her family comes in, and they got started. They looked at her. Hi. So I'm like, hey, how you doing? How's everything? You know, this is my daughter Tamia. You know, I'm a father, blah, blah, blah. And you're right, babe? Okay. So we go out to Walmart to go pick up the last couple things that we need to furnish the room. She gets the text while we're at Walmart. Oh, I just happened to bump into one of my old high school classmates. She has a free room. So I'm thinking that I'm going to move in with her. I could see the disappointment on my daughter's face. Like, hold on. Like, did you not know? Like, we conversed the whole summer. I'm quite sure, you probably fit. Maybe you didn't catch the accent. I don't know. But it was bad. Like, by the time we got back, the girl and the family moved all their stuff back out by the time we got back from Walmart. Man. So now that's the first.
That's crazy.
So that's the first semester. Second semester, she gets there and she has another roommate. As a matter of fact, no, same semester they moved somebody else in with her, right? So she comes home she goes back from Thanksgiving break. You know, we pack her up with all this food. You know, this would be good for the whole weekend. And she calls and she's crying, or she's trying to stifle the tears. I'm like, what's the matter? She's like, I don't like, I don't think I can take it up here. Like, I'm not gonna give up. But one of her roommates, like when she was warming the stuff in the microwave, she said the roommate comes in and with her friend, and she's like, oh, I don't know. Oh, that food stinks. Like, oh, ethnic food. Oh, I can't deal with it.
Ooh.
And walks
Ooh.
out.
Ooh.
So I say that story because those small towns, like my experience was one thing, because like when I went to Buffalo, pretty much I was in the African American area. I was in a black area.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of times they were actually busing which called white kids into our school. So we maybe had like 4 per class, right? It was almost like reverse. But then for my daughter to experience that, and I'm thinking I'm doing her a favor, like, all right, you want to go up there? No problem. You know, I'm doing the best I can. And for her to have that experience, like I said, it really toughened her up. So like right now, she doesn't really take any bullshit. But at the same time, it's a stark reminder that even in this day and age, that, you know, as much as things have progressed, you know, people are still in that backwards mentality. So for you to, you know, for you to experience and say that, you know, which got your thoughts and your feelings on the diversity, or when you encountered diversity, you know, I mean, I knew there's a reason I liked you, but you know, it's one of those, like, I always feel like it's not ingrained. It's never ingrained. I believe it's taught.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and but yeah, I don't, you know, like I know I go on tangents, but yeah, they just brought up a story in my mind. But picking up from your UP experiences and your UP upbringing, you did mention that education brought you west, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you a little bit more personal question, not too intrusive. How did you meet the missus?
I met
And
her. Ooh. There's an and.
okay,
Okay. Ooh. No. Hit
no,
me.
how did you meet the missus?
Mm-hmm.
And why do you believe y'all were, I wouldn't say y'all were destined for such a stark change in surroundings from the Upper Peninsula to Arizona, where you're at?
Well, I didn't. So I'll come back to that in a second. So
Okay.
we met up at Northern Michigan University. We had some classes together, some mutual friends, and we ended up hanging out, kind of commiserating about stuff. And then it was always super late. It was always late at night. We'd go on walks at like, or hang out and watch a TV show or something together at like 11, 12 o'clock. That's when we would meet up and just hang out. And that was it. It was nothing more than being friends and spending time. And eventually I realized I was starting to develop some feelings, and I told her, hey, I got some feelings for you. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I wanted to let you know that I'm feeling this way. And she said, yeah, me too. And that was kind of it. After that, I was like, well, do you want to go on a date or hang out or something, like actually go on a date? And and she said, yeah, but I can't. I gotta move out of my apartment.
Okay.
That was the next day. I was like so excited. Like, let's go on a date. The day I told her that I had feelings for her was actually it was my birthday.
Oh, wow.
And we were at a birthday party, and it was like right after I told her, and we were there together, and we had some cake and all this stuff. My friends did it up for me, and it was kind of weird. I've never had like an adult party before that was for me. I've never really had one. Not one time. It was my 21st birthday party. This is what I did, and hopefully you'll appreciate this because it was depressing. Is all my friends that were of age were gone. I was at home. My other closest friend is like 18, 19 at the time.
Okay.
I went to the gas station near me. I bought a Mickey's 40, and I sat I sat on the back porch and drank a couple of sips before pouring it out and went back inside. My parents weren't home. My brother was in college or wherever he was working in Green Bay. Nobody home, just me and a Mickey's in my backyard in the Upper Peninsula of 40, staring out into the sun going, guess this is it. My 18th birthday was kind of the same thing. I drove myself out with a friend of mine. I bought a cigar because in Michigan you could buy Smokies, and when you were 18, I don't know if it's that way anymore, but you could also go gamble. So it was, I'm going to go smoke this cigar at the casino, and that was my 18th. That was pretty cool. But I think it was me and I don't even remember who I went with. I can't remember. I'm sure I went with somebody. It might have been with my parents. That was that birthday. So like all my milestone birthdays have been like, yeah, it's just whatever. 40th birthday, I think we went to Barrow's Pizza and just, got one of the factory pies from the back. And but that one was different, like once you have kids, it's a little different. But
yeah.
It was that birthday, but it was like no beverages, or everybody's like, no, we got to work, we got classes and all this. It was just some cake and a lot of college students and nobody drinking. And I was like, this is cool. It's a lame ass birthday, but it's cool that you did this for me. But okay. Happy 25th. Happy 25th, I guess I'm going to go down to State Farm and be like, hey, I'm 25. Here comes that car rental. Like, that's all I got, like those milestones are gone. So we met, we hung out. At some point, I'll save it now because it's going to take forever if I do. That house is one of the scariest places I've ever entered in my life, and B, for sure haunted. Like, I've never been more certain of anything in my life. That place scared the hell out of me. Our first date was, I'm going to help you move out because she doesn't have anybody to help her move out. And I was like, yeah, I'll go do that with you. And it ended with, I like you a lot, but I'm not staying here. We need to get the hell out of this house right now. And she, and her question wasn't like, oh my God, is something wrong? It was,
okay.
Why? What happened now?
Oh.
Hell no. So out of there for another time. And then after that, things got, a little bit more normal for us. I went to a job fair down at Central Michigan University. So had to drive to the Lower Peninsula, got a speeding ticket on the way down through Manistee. I think it was Manistee. I don't know. One of those M's up there. Yeah. Manistee, not Marinette. No, I don't know. It's going to bother me forever until I got a map, but I got a ticket. They had changed the speed limit through town to 45 from 55. And I didn't know. I'd been through there in years. And my flip phone was ringing, the little pull-up antenna. And I answered it. It was Lindsay who was driving ahead of me. And she's like, hey, just so you know, there's a speed trap in wherever it was. And I was like, really? Yeah, it's like, I just got a ticket like an hour ago. I wanted to give you a heads up. And I was like, cool, I'm going through there right now. As soon as I said it, the lights went off behind me. And got a ticket, got down to Central, hundreds of tables. And there was a place in Detroit. It was a fine arts school. And I sat down to talk with them. They just continued the conversation, didn't even look at me. And when they finally were like, how's it going? To me, I went, I don't have a shot at this job, do I? Like, and they were like, they laughed, and I was like, yeah, we'll see you. And I dipped. And I went to the Arizona table. Nobody was there. A town on the border called Nogales that I saw and was like, ooh, Nogales. Let's check this out. And the lady proposed this thing to me, and she's like, this is our town. Here's the area in the desert where all the illegal immigrants go and die. Here's where the next time. And I was like, hold up. What? This is your pitch?
Say that again?
Yeah. So I went home, and I was kind of dejected because I dropped off a lot of applications. That place did call me, but I was like, yeah, no. I'm good. I'm hard pass. There were two places that called me back after sending him out everywhere. Wolf Creek Elementary School in Apopka, Florida. Still remember that. They are known, at the time, they were known for having the highest percentage or instances of gang violence of any city in the United States. And Marana, Arizona, which is pretty much known for nothing, and maybe cotton. We grow Pima cotton out here, which is cool. And I was like, you know what? It's outside of Tucson. I'll take a chance. Let's see what happens. And then did phone interviews, and I was very nervous on those phone calls. I had to do like 5 different interviews. It was the initial one to check and see stuff, and then the next one was like, well, normally we do this as a team. I'm going to have different people calling you, and each person that was on the interview committee that usually does it all at once called me to talk to me. It was kind of brutal because it was probably an hour and a half of interview time when you stack it all up. And Beth Surzan, who was the department chair at the time, thought I was incredibly stuffy as a person and didn't want to hire me.
Really?
Yeah. Well, on the phone, man, I was nervous. I was green as bullshit, as they say. So I was
green as my shirt.
Yes, exactly. So I was on there going like, I don't know. So they hired me from 2,200 miles away. They took a chance on me too. And I went out. Before I left, I told Jess, like, I think we need to end this. I don't want to take you with me out west. It's not fair to you. You're finishing school. You got a couple years left. I don't want to remove you from your family, from your friends. It's completely unfair and unrealistic for me to do that to you. And she was like, no, I don't want to end this. I'm going to come with you. So she dropped everything to come out here with me. Wow. And then she wanted to make a change in her education anyway. She was a music ed major. Jess has an incredible singing voice, like angelic. And she faced some adversity with some vocal cord paralysis while she was in the program, on top of people some of those music majors, man, they're just grade A assholes. So making her feel less than and like she's not going to be able to do it. And I think she believed it after a while instead of believing in herself and, the pain and all that. I think that's what made her pursue business, which in the long run it's a good decision for us and for her. I think she still seems happy, and her side project doing the Wonder Water thing was so she could do voice and piano lessons for kids that need it. So she still gets kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
If she hadn't decided to move out here with me, I don't know what would have happened, because I was like, I'm not going to be that guy that's like, you have to make this life altering decision with me. And she was willing to do it. Mom and dad are my favorite people. Like, I love me, Cindy, and I love Chuck, Dave and Connie, her mom, her dad, her step parents. I love all of them. Cindy and Chuck were not delighted that their baby girl was about to pack up with this rando and move to Arizona, because they didn't know me very well.
Yeah.
We hadn't been dating for very long. It was only like a year. And then it was head out west, young man, as it says. And she came with me. We drove our cars out, got a flat in Truth or Consequences, New Mexico.
Bang,
and yes, exactly. Thank you. Which is why I think it's awesome. I stop there and going like, oh, I know where this is. And landed in Marana. Been out here ever since. Intermittent stop. We did move back closer to family. We moved to Wisconsin to be closer to family after 2 years, because all those applications say like, we want 2 years of experience. Well, I got it. Out of here. Couple years of walkouts, of tenure being cut, of unions being destroyed, of tornadoes, of blizzards. And it was like, yeah, we don't have tenure in Arizona already, so I can't lose it there. And I don't know anything about blizzards and tornadoes in Arizona, but I don't think they happen very often. So let's get the hell out of here. And we moved right back. I called my school and was like, I hear a friend of mine, Katie Anderson, texted me and said, this person's leaving, an English spot's opening up if you want to come back. And I was like, give me Jim's phone number and I'll call him, my principal. And I was like, I want to come back. He's like, well, different principal next year, so call her. And they were all on board. And I was like, all right. The only thing I don't want to do is induction, that new teacher orientation stuff. Like, I did it. I don't want to do it again. If I come back, I'm not doing that. That's my only ask, because I am not doing that. And they were cool with it. And I came back and been here ever since. That was 14 years ago, 13 years ago, 14 school years ago.
Now, I was going to follow up with another question about the missus, but Why do you believe? Because I mean, we have conversations, and I hear some of the tales that you say talk about concerning your classes, concerning the students
Mhm.
on GI. In your opinion, why do you think you have such a connection to your current students and even former students that you keep up with, or actually make a point to keep up with you? What do you think that
Mm.
is your one quality? I'll just narrow down that one quality in your teaching that really connects with the student on a personal level.
It's really two things, but I think one of them is part of it. So like being open is part of being authentic. Authenticity. Like that's it. That's the secret sauce. Like that's all it is. It's be you. And if you're not you, they'll call you on your bullshit. You won't connect with them. And if you are kind of a piece of crap and you're not working on yourself, they'll also call you on that. I am this is what I'm like in class. This is it. This is what you get. There's no like buttoned up Mr. Winchester version of this. This is just me. This is me all the time in front of the kids. This is what they get from me. I'm going to joke about stuff. I'm going to be self-deprecating. I am going to be open and honest with them when they ask me stuff that's not like political or religious. But if they ask me about like mental health stuff, I'll be like, yeah, I had a tough day yesterday. And because if I'm expecting them to be open with it and more accepting it with it, now that I'm teaching psychology, mental and social health, I can't not do that for them. Like I have to be that for them too. It'd be like, I don't know, teaching math, but not practicing, or not reading if you're a reading teacher or a writing teacher. If you're instructing those things and not doing those things, quit. Um, I I can be negative and like very negative and almost always, because I'm working on it. The negativity is directed inward, and it's about me failing or being self-deprecating and making fun of myself is a way to protect myself from hearing it from other people. Because if I get there faster, then I can't hear it from them. Because when I hear it from them, it hurts. And
Yeah.
sometimes kids will say stuff, and it's like, oh, that one, that one hurt. That was like a knife to the heart. And it's usually not about me. It's about something dumb that shouldn't even concern me.
Okay.
But when we had Tessa on our producer, we had Tessa on GI. She to talk to her as her job as a producer. She's done work with lots of different things, Married at First Sight, just all kinds of things. And Tyler asked her like, "What was I like in the classroom? What was it like having me as a teacher?" And she said, "It's this. Nothing's changed. It's this." And I think about that from time to time, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's because I've always been that." I think if you don't have an authentic person, like the kids won't say authentic. Kids will be like, "Oh, it's just because you're real." I'm not going to lie to them. They're not going to, well, they might lie to me, but I usually can tell when I call them on it.
Yeah.
Cause I just tell them like, I don't like liars. Like if you don't do something, it doesn't affect me. Like if you got to go to the bathroom and you need the bathroom pass, tell me you need the bathroom pass. If you just need to get out and walk around to get out of the room for a few, just say, can I take the bathroom pass and go for a walk? I do not care. You're signed out. I know where you're going. You're just getting up to move around, but like, don't go to the bathroom and come back with chips. That's weird. Like, where'd you get those chips? Like, so like, and I'll call them on it when they come back. It's like, so when you were taking a dump just a minute ago, somebody handed you that Nestea? Like, is that, you're just taking,
You took a Nestea plunge?
you're taking shit beverages on a school campus from strangers is what you're doing? Or did you go to the vending machines? Did you ask to go to the vending machines or the bathroom? Oh, I was thirsty. And it was like, and you could have said, I'm going to the vending machines. I'm thirsty. Simply
Yeah.
tell me. Why would I care? It's your 8 minutes. You get an 8-minute pass tops. Where you go is up to you. I don't care. Just let me know where you're going.
Yeah.
Don't lie to me. They don't lie about homework. They try sometimes, but I'm like, really? No. That's how it always ends, because it's like, well, I didn't do it. I wasn't really sure how to do the assignment. It's like, assignment was pretty obvious. Did you just forget about it? Yeah. Just be authentic. Just be honest. And don't be a power hungry jerk. Oh my God. There's so many teachers that are like, well, I told them to do it this way, and this is the way. I can't believe they're not doing it. And all my kids failed the test. All your kids failed the test. That's not them. If everybody failed, it's not them. Yes. Yes. If 3 kids failed, probably them. If the other 30 or whatever you got in your class, because you got big classes, did just fine, and 3 kids failed, the 3 kids, we got to figure out why they failed, but it's probably not you. It's probably something else. Them, a product of the testing environment, maybe a learning disability, like who knows what else it could be. Maybe they had a bad day, who knows? But being authentic, and then authentic means in the way you approach the kids and the way you care about the kids. Talk to them, ask them questions, tell them that you are there for them. Tell them that if you need an ear, you'll be that ear. Tell them that you'll be an advocate if you need them. So like, I don't want to talk to my math teacher for this homework. Okay, I'll do it. I don't care if they get mad at me. What do I care? Like, I'll just be like, hey, I asked for some homework. You don't have to get mad at me. It's not that serious. It's a high school. Yeah. Like, this isn't life and death. It's quadratic formula stuff, which, by the way, I've never used. So it's like, it's not that serious. It's like, the phrase I say at the beginning of the year to all my kids is it's simple. It's, I don't care about your grade. That's your job. I care about you. How can I help you and how can I support you? Because your grade doesn't matter. You matter. Your grade doesn't matter what it is if you're not here with us to enjoy it. So I care about you, the end, because I don't think they get that enough. Because I think a lot of people either don't have the people at home that are equipped to do that, because life is hard. We're not all equipped to be that, as a parent, we want to be all of those things, but sometimes we forget to, because we got to work, we got to do this thing. And we forget that, oh yeah, we should probably go, is everything good? And do you actually feel confident talking to me? And I think for a lot of kids, they have great relationships with their parents, but they don't know how to talk to them about this stuff. So if they can have that other adult, I'll be that. It's hard sometimes, man, but because I got to take some of that home with me. But a really wise man told me, his name is Tyler, told me, you can't give away the whole loaf of bread and leave yourself the crumbs. And I think about that since he told me that last year when I was crying on my floor in my classroom, telling Jess and Freya, I think they're trying to kill me, before the school year even started, that I think about that every day, and I have ever since. And everything's been really good. Because if you let the small stuff get to you, I mean, ultimately, like, okay, my ceiling's dripping. I got air. I got a desk. I got a job. My kids are great.
Yeah.
Let's point at it and laugh and move on. Because what else? What are we gonna do? I'm not a plumber. So you just kind of roll with it. And if I can roll with it, then they can roll with it. If they see me trying to be positive about it, they're more likely to be positive about it. Just try to be real. Try to be authentic. There's a long answer to that question, but
that's why I pivoted, because I'm like, like my wife, this is her second year working in a school. All right, she's worked with a school prior to that, like on the culinary end, lunch lady. But now she's actually part of, quote unquote, the operation team, the main office or what have you. So it's first and foremost, and because she's my number one fan, I love you, babe. I know I say this all the time, but I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy for you. Like when she started having to get her wardrobe for office wear, because my wife likes a t-shirt, jeans, whatever. So when she started having to wear, her slacks and shoes, and I knew, went shopping, of course, no problem, right? And I was, she would try on the outfits, and I would look at it, and I'm like, this is great. She would show me a picture of her desk with the little name. She made sure she had a little name tag. Mrs. Lewis. She comes home from the teacher development things, or pretty much the staff development days with the name tag and everything. I'm just like, oh, my babe. I love the fact that she's happy, and the kids automatically gravitated toward her. Like on certain road trips that she normally she wouldn't have to go to, or she wouldn't be eligible to go to. They were specifically asked, "Is Miss Lewis going?
That's
If Miss
great.
Lewis going, I'm going." Or even the kids that will quote unquote have behavioral problems, or were just in reality just spoke their mind. She knew how to get to them. She, hey, all right, for lack of a better word, hey Mia, what's the matter? What's the matter? What's going on? Why are you giving such and such a problem? Well, Miss such and such, and she'll talk to them, and no problem. And they would look at my wife and like, how did you? She's like, look, I just talked to them. I let them know, look, there's certain things I'm not going to tolerate. At the end of the day, but at the same time, I talk to them. If you talk to them like a human being,
yeah,
a lot of time, okay, like you said, the power dynamic of, I'm the teacher. They're supposed to do X, Y, Z. But at the end of the day, they're a human being. Their child. They might have things going on in their own household that you have no idea that they're dealing with. And for a lot of kids, school is the escape from the realities of how they're growing up, their household or whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes it carries over into school, but if they don't have a safe place nowhere, if they're coming from a combative household and then they come to school and they're dealing with the same thing, even worse, because you don't even have no connection to them. And if you think about it, you spend the majority of time with them longer than they actually are in their household up. Because if they're 8 hours sleep, 8 hours of school, okay. At the end of the day, it's equal. But that's why I asked, because for just the thoughtfulness, I'm going to hopefully I'm not speaking out of school. When you was talking about supplies that you need for your class. And I know on my end, when we moved from Pennsylvania back to New York, and that was the first time my kids had to go to a public school, and they'd give me a laundry list of things of paper towel, wipes, markers. And I'm like, hold on. Isn't my tax money supposed to be providing all this stuff for educational purposes? Uh-huh. Why is it my responsibility to buy a whole big a container of wipes? If you're getting 30 things of wipes or 30 things of toilet paper, why is that have to come out my pocket? Then I realized the state that the school system truly was in. Like, the money is not going where it truly should be going, especially when the charter school networks got introduced in New York, and they were actively recruiting. And I think my son Mikey, he was the first child that we put into a charter school. The DOE teacher actually came to us and like, look, I see something in your son. I think he would probably excel or have the opportunity to excel in this charter school that's about to sprout up. I really think you should look into it. Now, 9 times, especially now, there's such a battle between quote unquote district schools and charter schools for space, for funding and everything. And I've seen both sides. But once Mikey went into the charter network and I saw everything at their disposal, because they have donors, they're getting extra funding, private funding or whatever, it made me actually realize, okay, this is the reason why they were asking for these supplies, because they want to be on a level playing ground. It's not the kids' fault. It's not the teacher's fault that they don't have these supplies. It comes from 3 levels above them. The money is not being, distributed the way it should be. Now with my wife, I actually can understand more when you and Tyler talk about school and educational stuff. Now I can actually decipher it more, because I'm like, okay, now I know when you're talking about you have to go into the school 2 or 3 weeks before students come because you have to set up your classrooms. Because that's what my wife has been doing now. Now it clicks to me. Now, because my experience prior was as a child growing up and as a parent dealing with the school, never on the inner workings. So when the staff members such as my wife, teachers, educators such as yourself that get these bonds, get these connections with these children, I think it would have been negligent on my part not to ask you, like, what do you feel? I mean, I might have an idea, but that's the whole point of me having this platform is to try to spread awareness of certain things like that. Now, I'm actually going to skip. I want to get to this one part, and then I'll backtrack.
Cool.
And that would be mental health, right? We share an understanding with mental health. One of the questions I'm going to ask is, why are you such an advocate for that? And one of the main reasons that I trust you, or I had instant trust with you, was your compassion with people's flaws and your support for people's triumphs. Rooting for the constant progress of someone that you really didn't know. Like, to be perfectly honest, I mean, I've said this probably in the past, but I'm going to reiterate it now. Me, Brad, and Tyler met based on my partner from Hidden Gems Football, the Mojo King, right? He's part of 19, co-founder 19 Media Group. They had a podcast on 19 Media Group, and somewhere out some way, I think y'all might have been asking, or like, anybody wants to talk wrestling or whatever. Mo's like, look, my boy Mike, he talks wrestling. Like, he got a little podcast with him, but he'll be a perfect guest. Now, y'all saw him, y'all dealt with me sight unseen. Like, Tyler always makes the joke. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know if he's being facetious or he's telling the truth. Of he thought I was the intern of my prior iteration. He was like, yeah, this doesn't look like this doesn't look nor sound like this guy Donnie Ooh that has this podcast that we listen to just try to get a background. He's so timid. He's so he's so down to earth. He's just so calm, right? But now from that was our introduction, and throughout that, especially throughout that first year, I can truthfully say, looking back, better way I could say, I was burning the candle at both ends. I'll say it that way, right? And it was manifesting itself in a lot of ways. Like, I'm never going to stop grieving my late son, my oldest son. I've had a lot of passings in my life, and up until, I want to say, last 18 months, I probably never really was able to process them correctly, if there's a correct way. But I've changed strategies. Let's just put it that way. I've changed strategies on how to cope with loss and just trials and tribulations of my life, right? But when certain things popped up, or matter of fact, I'll say this specific one, right? Now, me and Tyler, we have our sports wars. We have our sports wars.
Very entertaining.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, at that time, prior to the situation we'll talk about soon, I would get I had a very short fuse, and I would always take undue offense to certain things that now I'm like, it's all fun and games. So we was going back and forth over the Mets and the Yankees, and just so happened that week I was in, I'm not gonna lie, I was in a dark place. So I really wasn't feeling nothing for jokes. I really wasn't taking no jokes. And he's which goes sending bows and sending arrows, sending shots, and I'm just and I'm seething. I'm seething on other things, but it's just making me seethe even more.
Of
I'm
course.
like,
Yeah.
I'm not responding for a reason. Okay. And it kind of boiled over. I did an episode that I actually regret, and I kind of win it, and which was not deserved. Now I apologize both on air, and I did reach out to him and apologize personally, because I look back, even at the time, I was like, Mike, look, you're older. You should have handled that a different way. If anything, you shouldn't have just went on your podcast and just took an AK and, with scorched earth. Like, you shouldn't have did that, right? Now, I have other people like, well, Mike, they know Donnie, which goes salty thoughts. What? I'm like, no excuse. Now, I say all that. I give that background for a reason. First and foremost, Tyler accepted my apology, and actually, I believe that incident, which we don't really talk about, but that incident made us closer and kind of helped our understanding to each other. Now, as your teammate, as his compadre, Brad could have very easily said, you know what? And this would probably be my first F-bomb. He could have said, you know what? Fuck this dude. I understand it was something, but listen, I know him. We invited him on our platform. We talked to him, and that was totally uncalled for. You know what? Fuck him. He didn't. Neither one of them did. Then not too far after, I had a health scare, right? Long story short, I got prescribed some antidepressants, and they didn't let me know that, you probably shouldn't drink with the antidepressant.
Mm-hmm.
You probably shouldn't partake with the antidepressant, because, it might not bother some people, other people it can. And unfortunately, I was one of the people that it can. Like, I had the twitches. Even though now nobody, I asked both my psychiatrist and my therapist. I'm like, I was reading, did I have serotonin syndrome? And they're like, no. Well, can I ask them straight up? I was like, what happened? And the definite how they described it to me was, I had all this pent up grief, had all this pent up aggravation, all these years. I never really dealt with it. I had my vices, and it was almost like that was shook up a bottle of soda, and then you just open it and everything came out. And that had I believe that had a lot to do with it. But specifically for that particular instant that I had, I'm like, no, all these signs of serotonin syndrome. Yeah, that was what I had. That's what I had. Like, I was in a constant panic attack.
Yeah.
Anxiety attack. Like, I couldn't catch my breath. My mind was racing 100 miles an hour. Went to the emergency room. My heart rate is like 110. My pressure's up, so forth. And that was the point that made me have to really reassess everything that I was doing, everything, how I was handling everything. And I cut everything off cold turkey. Like, I'm 20 months. So
That's awesome.
Thank you. So during that time, I felt a sense of brotherhood with you and Tyler, to the point that I didn't let y'all know everything, but I pretty much let y'all the pertinent things of, I'm going through it right now. I do speak to a therapist. I'm going to talk to a psychiatrist and so forth. And now I unfortunately I have to take medication. And y'all never judge me. Y'all never judge me. Not only did y'all never judge me, y'all have always been constant pillars of support to me, to my various endeavors. I think because that was such a life-changing moment for me, I was like, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I need to continue doing this as me. Found out or realized that me putting on a persona probably wasn't helping the situation. Me feeling free of, oh well, yeah, I could put my stuff out there, but not totally as me. Really, I wasn't schizophrenic, but it still wasn't helping.
You're masking. You're masking.
Yes. Yeah. So, I was like, you know what? I need to rebrand. And I reached out to you. I was like, look, I'm trying to rebrand. I think this is what I need to do. And without saying, you went above and beyond anything I could have asked for, and once again showed me that support that was truly needed, especially at that vulnerable time. Now, now, like I said, you could have kept your distance from me, but my thing is, it has evolved into a situation where, I mean, you corrected me, but I'm going to say it anyway. That I feel like I'm an unofficial member of GI. Like I'm the like the kind of the official stand-in. Like if Brad something comes up, or listen, episode needs to come out. Ty, hit Mike up. Is he ready? Can he do it? Like I've kind of lost track how many times I've been on there. But yeah, like y'all fully brought me into the fold. But I say all that to say, I've never experienced that before because I've always been closed in. Like I always had my guard up. Like if it's something that you mentioned earlier, especially in our age, it's usually either you grew up with the person and that's where your friendships start. At our age, very seldom do we start new friendships, new relationships. Like, yeah, that's somebody I work with. Yeah, I might chop it up with them for a minute, but as for intimate situations, intimate conversations, or actually being vulnerable, that's always been a problem for me. Even when I said I was like an open book, I've realized that no, you wasn't an open book. You was an open book to what you felt like being an open book. But not, like right now, I have It's like right now I have nothing to hide. Like me even coming up and saying specifically what happened that night. That's something that I never did. I alluded to it, but I never did. But I'll say, matter of fact, I'll start off like this. Why were you so welcoming at the very beginning? And more specifically, why did you, like you said, you know what? I maybe if I'm putting words in your mouth, please take them out. Afterward, like, you know what? I really believe he really is a good guy. He's just going through some shit, and so like, yeah, that would be the question that's convoluted as it came out.
First of all, thank you for all the kind words. Second of all, your son that you lost, what's his name?
Nakai.
I needed you to say it. It's important to say it. So one of the things that is really important when you lose somebody is people around you, and for you to say it, because it helps keep that alive. Because otherwise, it's my son, and there's no name to it. So thank you for sharing that. I've learned that recently because we've had a lot of loss in the last couple of years on campus, which is another reason why I'm always so open with mental health. Since I have started teaching in 18 years, I have lost 17 of my students, either during the year or not long after they've graduated, to death by mental health or car accidents or freak things, illness, whatever. Hell, I had a former student that died in Monroe in a freak tractor accident. Those things can roll, and they're not exactly built for rolling. So it's stuff you don't even imagine. So there's a lot of that in there, and people that I've worked with, and it's tough when you hear sirens heading toward campus, and you stop what you're doing to listen and hope that they keep going. Because if they turn toward you, there's more stuff down the road. But if the siren stops before it gets past you, you know it's you. And that's when stuff gets really scary. Thankfully, it's not all that often, and it's usually nothing super major, but every once in a while it's, somebody got hit by a car in the parking lot, or some of the most random Marana shit ever. Man, we had a cow on campus last week on the Thursday. There was this, we're in the middle of nowhere. If you look Marana High School up, like there's a spot where people can park their horse. It's the most Arizona cowboy shit you've ever seen in your life. And we had a roping steer in the which is exactly what it sounds like, a steer for roping competitions out in the student parking lot when I rolled up. And our sub coordinator picked up her phone and was like, "It's one of my friend's cows. I'll call him and tell him it's loose." And it was just like, y'all are way too calm right now, because there's like a 2,000-pound animal running around in a parking lot.
Don't worry about it.
Well, yeah, it's a cow. It's neighbor's cow. Don't worry about it. It's like, why do you think it was a stranger's cow? Like, I didn't think somebody dropped it off, like as some kind of an act. We have weird problems out here. Last year, the campus got torn a new one. And actually 1 year ago yesterday is when the campus was destroyed by parts of it were destroyed by a microburst. Some of it we're still trying to repair now. And what I remember, what really stood out to me was the Friday after, when the entire town showed up, and a neighboring school showed up to try to salvage the football field, because it was being installed and it wasn't finished being installed, and it rolled up. Like, we had 120-mile-an-hour straight line winds from a microburst. It hit the edge of the football field. It's turf that hadn't been secured yet, and literally threw it to the other side of the field. If I remember, I'll shoot you the video because it's crazy. And it's, watching the town rally and watching Sal Point Catholic, who they were supposed to play that day. It's their first home game. They got on a bus and came out to the football field to help the other football team, their rival football team, pull this thing together and try to have competition, because that's what a community does. Yeah, I got goosebumps talking about it. And that's how I look at mental health. We're a part of a community, but for some reason, men especially, we don't share that stuff. I'll tell you one of the reasons. When I kind of knew when you said, like, I have a lot going on, and I had like I think you alluded to having some panic stuff. When I turned, man, I'm trying to do math on the fly here. It would have been like 2019, however, I'm 42. So whatever that is, 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have been around 37, maybe 36, depending on the time of year. I think 36. In February, I did ancestry DNA. Earlier than that, actually. I think I might have gotten it for Christmas or something. And or maybe even earlier than that. But I always check my matches, see what I'm related to. I'm like a lot of different places, all of them white. I am so Viking. Like, I'm from places where Viking is a verb, by the way. That tripped me out. It's not a noun. It's a thing people did, not what people are. Yeah, there's no Vikings. It's just
I've been Vikinging today.
Yeah. Yeah, you would go Viking. And that's because Viking is like the act of like destroying a town and taking their stuff. Yes, it's pillaging. So that word is associated with a group of people, because if you look at English history, they usually refer to them as the Danes instead of Vikings. They're the Danes. Well, they're from Denmark. They're from Norway. They're from Sweden. They're from all these other areas. Okay. They would do those things. That's where all of mine are from, except for the places Vikings conquered, like Ireland, England, and France. Those are my smallest amounts, but like everything else is like all Viking all the time. Oh, wow. And I got a DNA match, and it said it was a first cousin, not a third, not a fourth or whatever, All of them have been very distant. I'm like, I'm not going to find any info from this. And it was a first cousin, and this person had messaged me. And I was like, oh, it's kind of weird. She's a first cousin and she's 60, 65 years old, somewhere around that. I'm not putting her business out there. I don't know how old she was actually, but I looked at the picture and was like, she's not my age. She's clearly older than I am. She's about a little younger than my parents. And she's like, it says we're first cousins. I don't know who you are. And I'm more closely genetically related to you than people I've known my whole life. Who are you? And I told her, here's what I know. I'm adopted. I grew up in Marquette. All I know is that my biological father was in the Air Force around 1982. That's all I got. And she said, I think I have some answers for you. Do you have Facebook? I'll have somebody reach out to you with some information. And then this guy named Steve started texting me and said, like, here's all this information. And then a second message popped up. It was like, by the way, I'm your biological father. So I hadn't asked for any of that. I didn't really want it. I'm glad it happened now. But at the time I was, really, it was not good. I was freaking out. We were in the middle of the musical, just finished the set for Newsies. And if you know anything about Newsies, this is not a small musical to do, especially at a high school level. Normally we do auditions in December, cast, and start rehearsals in January. We did auditions for this in May the year before and started rehearsal over the summer. So kids could learn how to do tap dancing and stuff. And then there was like lots of big sets. People could get really hurt if it doesn't go well. So I was stressed. Then I found this out. Freya just turned 2 and was learning how to do scary stuff with her body by wandering around and just opening things we didn't want her to get into. And it's just like the terror of silence was happening around the house every once in a while. So really, really high stress situation. And then I was in Marana Community Music Theater at the time, and we did auditions for, this was like in March, April, right after the musical was over. We did auditions for Guys and Dolls. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go audition for a part. I didn't do the other 2. I'm going to go do this one or the other one, whatever it was. I'm going to do this one. And I think being in the ensemble will be a lot of fun. So I didn't know this. I'll get to that in a second, but I was very nervous. I got some paper here. Hopefully there's nothing important on this. And I was standing in front of people I knew, like shaking like a leaf. I knew exactly what to do. I knew I sounded fine. I knew it was going to be great. Literally the woman that directed the musicals and the music were in the room. Those were the people doing the auditions. The woman I tech directed for 4 years was in that room with me, or 3 years or whatever it was. And then Sarah Ross, who I got hired with, and I was still nervous out of my mind. Former students were on the panel with them too. I knew everybody in there. I was close to everybody in there. I trust everybody in there. And yet, shaking like a leaf. So leading up to that day, and then during that time, and then they cast it, I did not get an ensemble part. I got a lead. So I'm at home like, holy hell, I'm Sky Masterson in this play. This is crazy. I didn't know what was happening because I thought I caught something over spring break. And finally I was like, I've been sick for a month. I'm going to go in. And I went into the urgent care because I'm like, I'm throwing up. I'm not eating. I'm not sleeping. I got all these problems. I feel like I'm just always going to throw up, and my heart rate's racing. I feel like I just feel sick. And the nurse was like, all right, someone will be in a second, talk to you. Door shut. I waited a couple minutes. And this lady walked in with a clipboard and was like, hi, I'm the social worker. And I was like, what? And she was like, well, I saw all the things that are happening. It sounds like you've been having a panic attack on and off for the last month or 2. I didn't know that could happen. So my nervous system had been so fight or flight mostly, that I had just been dealing with this heightened state of panic for the entire time. And they're like, you have performance anxiety. You got a lot going on in your life, stress wise, all of these things. Here's propranolol. Take that if you need to get up in front of an audience and do that. It'll take the edge off. It just lowers your blood pressure a little bit. So it'll help your heart rate and then let you feel a little bit better. But I didn't know that. And when I left because I don't think I said it yet, I teach AP psychology and I have for years. And I'm now doing a CTE program called the Mental and Social Health Technician program. And At the time, I think it was in year 3 or 4 of AP Psych. And all I could think is, if I, who teach this stuff, can't recognize anxiety in myself, how can I expect my students to? And how can I expect these other people to? So if you can't recognize it in you, the only way for this to be something that is an open conversation, or for me to be comfortable talking to other people about it, is for me to be comfortable talking about it myself. Now, I have ADD, I have anxiety, I have psoriatic arthritis. I found out, finally got it narrowed down. I woke up one morning in my 30s and I couldn't close my hands because they were swollen so badly and they hurt. And it was a series of, no, it's not this, no, it's not that. The adopted father, or the biological father stuff, actually gave me an answer. He's like, yeah, it's called ankylosing spondylitis, and I'm positive for the gene HLB21, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
They only look for that if they know they need to look for that. So none of my doctors had looked for it. And finally I was like, yeah, this is what I heard. And they checked and they're like, sure enough, it's right there. It's definitely this thing. Let's treat it this way instead. And it's been pretty manageable ever since. So that really saved my ass physically. And then mentally, it gave me a step forward to go like, yeah, I got to start taking care of that a little bit better. I tried dealing, like 4th grade, I was on Ritalin through 7th, 8th grade, somewhere around there. But you know how it was the 90s, 80s, 90s. If you had something diagnosed, you kept that to yourself and you didn't want anybody to know, because people would just beat you up or make fun of you or whatever. Hey, spaz, like that stuff. You'd have to go to the nurse in my junior high and go at lunch and go get your meds, because they didn't have time release. It was, no, it only lasts for this long. And then you got to take your second dose halfway through the day. So I'd have to go to the nurse. So the nurse was like overlooking the cafeteria area, or actually not a cafeteria. It was like a balcony that overlooked like a main traffic area. So if anybody saw you going up to the nurse to get medication, they knew you were getting medication. It was not private.
Oh, wow.
You were waiting outside in a line with a bunch of other people. So I started like just throwing it out and not going to the nurse at lunch and stopped taking it. And at that point, I was like, I just don't want to be on it anymore. I don't think I liked how it made me feel, but I definitely didn't want to be on it anymore because of embarrassment, for all those other reasons. So flash forward to this summer, when I finally made appointments to go talk to Sunrise Mental Health in Tucson. Got set up with a mental health FNP, and he's awesome. And we did the adult ADD testing because it was covered by my insurance. I said, like, I've been given a screener, and then I told them I was diagnosed when I was like 10. Okay. And they've always been like, cool, yeah, you have it then. Well, a lot of that stuff you grow out of, or you just adapt so much that you don't really need the help and support. First of all, I'm a big advocate for not taking medication if you can avoid it. Like the strategies and the tips and the tools, try that. When it doesn't work, you have to go the other route, and you have to be willing to do it. Nobody's the same. So not everybody is equipped to just sort of, be fine. I hate that. That's the stigma that I want to get over so much, is like, people need help sometimes. Like, it's okay if they need help. And sometimes that help needs medicine. Not every time, when it comes to children, especially, but yeah, sometimes you do. And that's okay, because nobody wants to be on antidepressants, because if you forget a day, good Lord, is that awful. So it's the crash that can come from it and all of those things. So I was like, I don't want to add to my already kind of ridiculous pain management regimen. I don't want to be putting more meds in my body if I can avoid it. I have to do an injection for my autoimmune. I have to do an injection for my migraines, because I got those too. And it's monsoon season here in Arizona. So when the clouds change, migraine. So I got pain meds to go along with that. I got to take a pain med every night, an anti-inflammatory. And then I'm also going to take this Vyvanse or Adderall or whatever. I don't know if I can do that. Is that good for my liver and my kidneys for long-term health? It just feels wrong. And I didn't do anything about it since 2011. I tried for a little while and I gave up after one prescription. I was like, all right, we're done here. I took Wellbutrin, which made me feel incredible, because the first question they asked me there was, how long have you been depressed? And I went in there for ADD, and the screener was like, yeah, you have depression. And I didn't know. I was like, looking back at it, it's funny because it's like, oh, it's not normal to sit in the dark by yourself for hours on end and play video games without talking to anybody. That's not a normal thing. Oh, okay. All right. Very good. Yeah. I'm 42 years old and I'm doing that in my underwear. Yeah. That's probably, yeah. So, but you just do it.
Yeah. It becomes a routine.
It's just us, self-medicating, managing on our own, not actually being aware of, oh, I'm doing these things. When you're in it, it's so hard to see it. And when somebody pulls it back and goes, these are these things, it is so obvious. So obvious. Anyway, Wellbutrin can help with ADD, and it can help with the, obviously the depression stuff. That's what it's for. I felt incredible. That morning, I've never felt better in my entire life. I still haven't felt that way since. And by lunch, I was throwing up in a trash can and I felt miserable. So instead of being patient with dosages and stuff or trying something else, I just bailed. And this summer I was like, no, I got to do it because even during this, when you're watching this and if people are watching this, you're going to see my eyes. I'm always doing this, flipping around. I can't even control it. Cause it's like, that's where my thoughts are taking me. ADD is an absolute nightmare. It should be called emotional dysregulation syndrome and not attention deficit disorder, because the attention part is only a small part of it. Like there's task paralysis. I don't know if you know what that is, but this is what I do a lot. I'll sit on the couch on a Saturday, a Sunday afternoon, thinking about all the stuff I got to do. And I'm thinking about how I got to just do it. And I'm feeling guilty and like a shithead for not doing it. And like, what's wrong with you? And why are you such a piece of garbage? Why can't you just get up and do that? Because I know if I get up and do that, I'll feel less like a piece of garbage, but there's something blocking me from just having the ability to just get up and do it. And that's a symptom of ADD. It's also a symptom of depression. Yes.
Well, yeah.
And that's the thing. When I went in and I was telling him about all these things, he's like, well, it's ADD, but ADD often brings its friends, depression and anxiety, to the table. Didn't know that they were partners in this. It's obvious. It's on my list. Like if you look at the diagnostic criteria and stuff, it's a whole thing. But when you have the diagnostic criteria in front of you, there's all of these things that it could come along with it. It's 1.5, 2 pages of crap that is associated with ADD. And if ADD makes you think about the things you're not doing and makes you not do them, of course your anxiety is going to ramp up. Of course you're going to feel bad about it. And then you have depression. So all of those things sort of compound each other. So the problem is that with ADD, it can look like this: straight-faced, not doing anything. I don't have hyperactivity.
Okay.
I have an attention issue. So I learned that at the testing thing for ADD. I am now on Ritalin again for 35, whatever it is, 30 years later, because the Adderall and the Vyvanse didn't really work. The other stuff too is that a lot of with this neurodevelopmental stuff, there's so much overlap with other things. He asked me a question when I was in there, and it was, do you feel like you were happy or depressed for a month or two at a time or a couple of weeks at a time? And I was like, listen, man, I know it's not bipolar disorder, because I know that's what those questions are for.
Yeah.
It's not I don't have bipolar disorder. But the other thing is a lot of the weird ADD stuff that comes with it is like hyper focus, which makes you lock in on certain things. Man, somebody brought up Wednesday this week. Just Wednesday. It was on Wednesday. And instead of just going like, yep, hump day, I spent the next 10 minutes going like, Wednesday. It's actually Odin's day. It's named after Odin. When Odin was a Norse god and then it went to England, they couldn't say Odin. They said Woden. And then Woden's day became Wednesday. That's where it comes from. And also Thursday is Thor's day. Friday is my favorite day because my daughter is Freya, and that's Freya's day. The other ones are just some Roman bullshit, but the rest of them are Norse, and they're great, and it's amazing. And my goodness, the Gregorians, man, they screwed up that calendar. There were supposed to be 13 months because Mondays would have been the first day of every month had we simply aligned with the moon, and we wouldn't have this weird 12-day nonsense with a leap year. It doesn't make sense. The Gregorians did this to you. Why did I do that? And why did I just rat-a-tat-tat all of that off? Because there's a lot of parallel with people that have autism.
Okay.
So like I fit the bill for a lot of things that are on the spectrum. Hell, I could be on the spectrum, but it's also an ADD thing. So there's so much overlap. I'm learning as we go. And if I'm 40 years old, 40 plus and change, and I don't know these things that I have to learn about, and I'm actively teaching this stuff, Mike, how could I not be kind? If you made it this far, and I'm speaking this to Tyler right now because I know he'll appreciate this because he brought it up earlier. It's so easy to be kind. Mike, it's so easy to be kind. I find myself getting really mad at stuff. And then I can feel like all this energy in my body, like, your face gets hot. You start going, doing the heavy breathing thing. And that's expelling a lot of energy. I've never once been like, man, I'm exhausted for saying I really appreciate you. No. Not one time in my life, but getting mad really takes a lot of energy. And I've last 6 months, I've made a conscious effort to go like, no, this is good stuff. Find a positive every single day and focus on that. I'll end with this. On Tuesday of this week, I walked out and I've been sharing this. I shared it with Tyler. I shared it with my kids. I will share it with everybody because I'm not going to name names, but I was walking to or from the front office. Actually, I think it was at lunch. Now that I think about it, I thought it was at the end of the day, but it doesn't make sense. I always have kids with me then. Pretty sure it was at lunch, going up front, check my mailbox, go to the bathroom during lunch and just take a walk. And there was an employee that was standing out front of the office, kind of arms crossed. And they're like, oh, what a long week. Can't wait for this week to be over. And I was like, it's the 7th fucking day of school. It is week 2.
Already?
Quit your job. Like, you can't leave. I don't want you here. Like, if you're in week 2 and you're bitching about kids, leave. You don't belong here. I don't care if it takes us 2 years to fill your position. We're better for it without you here. Get out.
Like a black hole of energy.
I was looking around going like, we got these giant cumulonimbus clouds, these puffballs, like Arizona weather is so strange. Thunderstorms will literally appear upward from nowhere. There's nothing there. It's just middle of the afternoon. You can go into a store and come out a half an hour later and there's stuff in the sky that wasn't there before. It's nuts. And they'll develop. And the sun was out and it was hitting them kind of perfectly. And they were all just glowing. There was this orange and yellow and gray and these dark blue because they were just filled with rain and oxygen. And the sky was perfectly blue behind it. And the kids were all smiling and talking to each other and eating lunch and enjoying each other's company and moving around on campus. And all I could think is like, this is awesome. I get to work at a really cool place. What job do you get to meet 180 new people every year, 120 or however big your classes are, and get to forge those relationships with them that many last a lifetime? There's not a lot of work that you get to do that. And this person's over here going to get me out of here. Today's too long. Fuck that, lady. Like, out of here. Like, leave, quit.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. Your job is stressful. Why are you doing it?
Exactly.
Find a different job. Like, I used to hate when people would say, like, because I would complain about how hard teaching is, or, somebody would bring up the pay and I'd jump in and they're like, yeah, our pay sucks. Pay does suck. Don't get me wrong, but we're 9-month employees. And I don't think people realize that a lot of the times here anyway, because we work over the span of 10 months. We have summer off. But we don't get paid for fall break, winter break, or spring break. It's unpaid time off. Summers are unpaid time off. I'm salaried, so my contracts are spread out through the year, but we don't get paid for those time because nobody's there. We can't work. I could go in if I wanted to, but they're not going to pay me to teach an empty classroom. So there's no pay there. So when I look at it like that, I go like, yeah, everybody would want a better paycheck. I can't fight for higher pay. It's not how it works. It's paid for by the state. State pays the district. District allocates money. I can't just go in there and be like, give me a raise. It can't work like that when it's so controlled by a government that's sending taxes to pay for it. So of course I want more, and I also can't advocate for myself on that. But when I look at it and go like, all right, I never have to ask for time off when Freya's off because I will always have the same vacations as long as she's in my district. That's a built-in bonus that is not a luxury for 99% of families. I feel like that I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed. I know the person that fixes my car because he was a former student. I know people that I go to shopping and like, hey, Mr. Winchester, what's up? People know me all over the place, and nobody ever goes like, oh,
asshole.
Yeah, I've never gotten that. I've never got that in public. I've never been messaged that. I've never been anything online. I've been people like, oh, you roasted me way too hard that one time. Yeah, absolutely. And you earned it. You said something real dumb. I'm going to let you know. I'm going to care about you and everything, but I am going to laugh when you're like, what do I click? And it says the word log in, and it's the only thing on the page. What do you think you click? You're in an AP class. What do you think you click? Yeah. So as far as like trusting you or wanting to reach out, I don't know. I'd like to think I'd do that for anybody. I know that's probably not true. I'd like to think I would, but also I've never had a negative interaction with you. I've seen the way that the reason that it worked right away was if Mo is like, this is a good dude, that's all I need. If people I trust are like, oh, this is a cool person, this is a good dude, they'll be great. It's when somebody goes like, yeah, I'm not sure. That's what I'm gonna
for you. I don't know.
Yeah. When people are like, I don't really know anything about them. All right, very good. I'm gonna limit my conversations until they say something that opens a door for me to go, okay, now I can say what I need to or what I want to. You brought up some mental health struggles, and I was like, this is my lane. This is my opportunity to connect with you. Maybe it's the adopted part of me. I have a wonderful brother. I love my brother. Shout out to the De Pere Redbirds. I was rocking the state championship shirt from a couple seasons ago, undefeated, first time in state history.
Oh, wow.
The basketball, yeah, it was amazing. Coach of the year, multiple times over, all that stuff, all earned and deserved. I love him. We did not have a good relationship growing up at all. It wasn't until I was in high school that we started like getting along a little better. And I think in the last couple of years, it's been pretty good. We're far apart, but we still, keep in contact, talk to each other a lot more than we did when we were younger. And I love it. But that's also why I feel like when I connect with people, I can forge those close relationships because I'm open to brotherhood and sisterhood and all of that stuff because I think it's important. I don't want to go through my life going like I have one friend and then lose a friend and go, I have no friends. And the more people and backgrounds and life experiences I can learn from, Tyler has had like a really interesting life. Check out 4AZ if you haven't listened to his story in the last podcast. Like I learned stuff that I didn't know. I knew about all of the things he talked about, but I didn't know any of the details. And I learn about you now through this, through us, through our conversations. I just think it's so cool. And Tyler and I talk often about like just how crazy it is that doing a silly little podcast has brought us close together. My closest circle of friends now are almost all people that I've met through doing this or through work. The people that I would confide in the most, I still have people back home. I still have 3-4 people that are back home. Shout out to them. Shout out to Josh, Chris, Dave. I still have people back there, but all of my friends that I've met through this, through moving to Arizona, through talking about mental health, through doing GI, they don't look like anybody in the UP. And I'm so happy about that. It's not because I don't love them or respect them. I don't know that there's a lot of people where I'm from that are like, yeah, I'm going to go out and meet different people. Um, my brother played for Lakeland College in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, was on the basketball team. I think he still holds the free throw percentage record there. I'm not sure. Wasn't a starter, but when they came home when I was in junior high to play in the Gus Macker tournament, and I don't know if you had Gus Macker by you guys, but it was a 3-on-3 basketball tournament that would happen over the summer, and lots of different categories and stuff. He brought Dave, and I can't remember who else. Yeah, there's 2 other guys, and it was like 3 black men staying at our house with my dad, and I was like, I don't know, Dad's gonna say something dumb here. Like, I know he's cool, but like,
you're like, please just no, don't.
I'm
Michael Scott.
No, I'm
No,
afraid.
Michael Scott.
Man, I'm afraid I'm afraid of like, wow, you're really well spoken was gonna get dropped. You know, one of those things where it's like, oh shit, like here we go. Something really small that's not really small is gonna drop where it's like, because I mean he grew up in the UP, like rarely left the UP. Like it's not something that he would even think about, but I'm just afraid something dumb was gonna happen.
I get it.
While Dave comes back from Blockbuster with Tales from the not Tales from the Crypt, Tales from the Hood. And I was like, I'm curious to see how this is going to go.
The intermingling of these worlds are going to be very fascinating.
Yeah. When my dad's at home laughing at Archie Bunker and when it's that and like MASH reruns and stuff, and then it's like that's a hell of a left turn for Dale Winchester. It was an experience that I remember going like, this is actually kind of awesome. I bet we're either the coolest block here right now, everybody's jealous of us right now, or we're gonna have pitchforks in the front yard in a few minutes, and it could have gone either way.
Your ears wasn't itching because you've been talked about one way or another.
100%. I remember being mad that I had to give my bed up, and then I had to sleep in the basement. And I told Dave specifically because he had like long, just the sheer volume of product. I don't know if he was I don't know what he was going for, man. Like his hair just looked wet 24/7.
Ah.
And I was like, I was all I could think of is like, can I take my pillow? Like, I want my pillow down there at least. Give him a different pillow. And my parents were like, no, let him have the good pillows. I'm like, no, they're not going to be good pillows after this.
Not
like,
after this.
Yeah, that's all I could think of. Yeah, the whole time. And that, but watching my parents be open to that and stuff, I think really settled into my head going like, if they could be open to people that don't grow up around here and welcome to them into their homes, which is, it's a big ass to ask total strangers, given the connotations of, where I grew up.
Yeah.
Then why can't I? That was awesome. Like I didn't really let that set in until a few years ago. And I was like, holy shit, it's a pretty big moment for me, probably formatively, of just the way that I approach people. And then working at Walmart, getting to know people like that. I probably was an asshole and to make fun of them. And it's like, I don't know their story. I don't know. So this person's got like 8 teeth and I'm over here making fun of them. And then I find out they grew up with nothing, lived on the street as a teenager, and then worked their way up to be able to get a job at Walmart. Why am I making fun of this person? So, like it really helped me. And I've always been interested in people. And I don't know, this is the longest answer ever to say I care about people. That's it. It's so easy to be kind. Listen. 10 p.m., Mike. That's what I'm saying. I'm 10 p.m.
Listen, I have no problem with that.
Yeah, neither.
But which go ahead now. One thing that you said when you was talking about your journey through your mental health situations, you said there's certain things that you didn't realize that was so apparent because while you were going through it. Like I I entitled these last 20 months, all last year and the majority of this year, I put them in two categories. Last year was recovery, right?
Yeah.
Recovery for a lot of things. So like I said, I did everything cold turkey. So not only am I dealing with the repercussions or the after effects of just like cutting everything off, now I'm dealing with this newfound acute anxiety, acute depression that I'm no longer dulling. So it's very in my face. So this year, at the very beginning of this year, I came up with I felt kind of lost because everything came to a nice end of last year. Like I put out my first musical project, kind of detailing
Mm-hmm.
my
right.
situation that I was going through, and it was almost like, okay, I accomplished that. I accomplished this. I'm feeling great. All right. What now? Right. And this year I'm more entitled the understanding, because now I'm understanding why I was the way I was, or why things ended up being the way they turned out. Like I can listen. Like I've been doing music for over a decade. I've been making songs or whatever, but what have you. And Mo will always be my sounding board. So I would make, I'd have a little quote unquote mixtape or something. I'd send it to him and he would listen to it. I would let my late brother Drew Kubiak let him listen to it, and they would give me feedback, but it didn't click in me because they would say, "Oh, wow, darn, that was kind of dark," or "Darn, that was real personal." Like I couldn't be me. I couldn't put that out there. And at the time, I'm like, "What are y'all talking about? Did y'all not listen to the flow? Did you not hear how it was on the beat?" I wasn't really thinking about the content because it was just coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in my current state, I listen to stuff back, and I'm like, "Oh, that's what everybody else was hearing." That, or if matter of fact, I'll even say podcasts. I listen to older episodes and how it would just go off or go on certain topics, or just even the way I would speak. I would it's very stark. Like I'm not a prude at all, but um I have tried to cut down on my profanity. I mean, listen, shit fuck comes out, all right, it is what it is. But before, it was almost like every word was F this, F that. Like I was trying to, like I had a point to prove or whatever. Certain things I even asked my wife. I'm like, hey, how do you, can you tell a difference between now and 2 years ago? And she said, yeah. And I'm like, what's the difference? She's like, I like, matter of fact, I'm not even going to witch girl. I'm not even going to censor myself. She says, I like sober Mike better. And before I would feel away, like I would like, fuck you mean? How you? But no, she explained it to me. She's like, no, because your motivation, you rich girl, you're more in tune with your health. You're eating better.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Mm-hmm.
rich girl. You're making a point to to be more active,
Yeah.
exercise. You're more focused. You're more confident. Not a. She never said a fake confidence, but I got exactly what when she said more confidence. Like I'm confident to be my authentic self.
Authenticity.
Yes. So and it's shocking. Like I said, I look back and I now if you would have asked me last year at this time, because I was still working my way through a lot of things. Um at the time, I mean, like I have to take Xanax and I have to take Prozac. I just like this month makes a year of me taking Prozac. But my therapist says I take such a minute amount that what all your progression, all your improvement, you need to pat yourself on the back and give you credit, because it's not, oh, this is just changed. Like literally, for the Xanax, I take a quarter milligram in the morning and a quarter milligram at night.
Wow.
The Prozac, I was on 10 milligrams for a year until I like June, I just hit a wall, and everything was like, I was starting to get irritable, I was starting to get depressed and everything. And I remember I'm wondering, like, why did this guy not put my prescription in? Like, I'm down to my last, like. So finally, when we had a talk, we talk like every other week, and he was asking me. As a matter of fact, he always asked me how I'm doing. So I told him, like, look, I'm not gonna bullshit you. I've been kind of down. It's been hard for me to focus. I'm driving, and literally I have to concentrate on driving because I could feel myself just dazing off, or like just like and he was like, okay. He was like, Michael, this is what we're gonna do. I think it's time. I want to raise it up, give you 20, because he's like, tell you the truth, 10, that's for children, and you've been up for a year.
Yeah.
So okay, now since you hit that wall, I think he was like. Plus, I was so apprehensive on doing that because the first one I was introduced to was the Lexapro, and at the time I'm like, oh, this is great. I feel great. A happy pill. All right, fine.
Right. Yeah.
I was always the type to always go to the line. I wouldn't go over the line, but I would. All right, where's that line? I'm going to go right up to that line, right? So there's like a lot of things that I would just normally do because I'm like, yeah, I like feeling good, So that I was like, oh, this is great, until it wasn't. So when he mentioned doing another antidepressant, I'm like, he gave me I got the prescription, and I got it. Matter of fact, I didn't get it filled, and I sat with it for about 5 days because I was literally afraid. Like, I'm sitting on the edge of my bed and I'm crying because I'm like, oh my God, this is what it's come to. Like, all right, the Xanax with the Xanax, okay, fine, but this is what it's come to. Like, and plus I'm having flashbacks of the infamous night of me, which got my hands twitching and my eyes twitching and not knowing exactly what's going on. My daughters are literally in the next room, and I'm making sure that they don't hear what I'm going through because I don't want to freak them out. So this is what's going through my mind. And then finally, I texted him. I was like, yo, Doc, I ain't gonna lie, I haven't felt that shit yet. I'm afraid. Like, I really like this. I really don't want to do this. Sat down with my wife. My wife talked to me. She was like, babe, try it. Like, she supported me. I spoke to the doc. The doc was, he pretty much, he was like, Mike, you trust me? And I'm like, yeah. I was like, because if I didn't, I know me. If I didn't, we probably wouldn't be having this conversation. Our relationship would be totally different if I didn't trust you. So fine. He was like, listen, I'm not doing anything to harm you. Just, and we'll keep account of what's going on. But if at any moment you feel off or something comes, let me know and we'll adjust. But trust me. I said, okay, fine. So like I said, so this month makes a year, and I'm not ashamed of it, because in the past I would be ashamed of it. I'm not ashamed of it. I mean, sometimes I overshare at work to a certain degree. Sometimes it's okay because I'm friendly with them, but for the most part, it's not so much them. It's the fact that I'm secure in myself. So yeah, I might say oversharing, but it's like, no, this is me. This is all of me. Do everybody deserve to get all of me? No, probably not really. But at the same time, that's a you problem. That can't be
Yeah.
a me problem.
Mhm.
You know, and the way I think, the way I judge things, the way I react over things has evolved. I recently realized the true definition of arrested development.
Yeah.
And I came to that realization of, wow, yeah, that fits me to a T, or fitted me to a T. Like, now that's why certain things are, are moving or progressing the way it is, because I'm literally growing. Like, all those steps that I probably should have did in my 30s or what have you, or just naturally, it's all coming out now because I was stunted to a certain degree. But yeah, it's a real fascinating thing when you come to an understanding of yourself. Um, and when you come to that understanding of yourself, you like where you're at, instead of kind of questioning or allowing people to put in your head of, well, you grew up this way, so you should feel. No,
Yeah.
not at all. Like maybe in the past I might have thought that way, but now
Yeah.
I'm like, no. Listen, all right, everybody grows up the way they grow up. Yeah, did I have the greatest? No, but considering what I did grow up around, and this part I will keep to myself. My mother did a damn good job, and for entities from the outside looking in, or based on hearsay, can say, well, you know, uh, yeah, which go ahead, shoot, your mother and certain family members, they was wild back in the day. Okay, and I've made it to 48, married with children, have a
Mhm.
stable job, and yeah, did I dibble dabble, whatever. But at the end of the day, I can truly say that from where a lot of people probably thought I might have been going, just based on my family, or or based on my household, quite sure I proved a lot of people wrong. And but in no small part due to the fact of how my mother and my grandmother raised me. It
Mhm.
wasn't I didn't become this in spite of that. It was because of that. That's something that's just been brought up the last couple weeks or something. Matter of fact, I'll probably talk to you afterward. But I felt that was necessary for me to put out there.
I want to ask you this. I
Yes.
pulled it up on my notes. I'm afraid to do anything on here because last time I did earlier in the show, I was frantically trying to figure out how to get the thing back on my screen because I went full screen and then I went not full screen and my window
Yeah, I
disappeared.
saw you. He's like,
I was like, shit, where are you? I was like, I can hear you. I can't see you. I can't see me. I don't know how to fix this. I had no idea what to do. And I have it up, but if I try to click on it, it disappears again. So because we're still on mental health here,
yeah.
what do you wish people do about mental health care that you wish you would have known earlier in your life?
Um, I well, I guess it's more of an opinion. I hate the fact that there was a stigma around mental health for so long,
Yeah.
that, as you said before, a lot of people were either afraid to reach out for help, afraid to admit, okay, yeah, I'm going. Because reason why I try to be more transparent with my situation than I might have. Well, the reason I try to be transparent with my situation is I feel like the more that people hear that you're going through something that's similar, the more it spreads, the more people will actually go get help if they're not getting help already. Um, it's to me, it's kind of selfish in a way of, well, I found this technique, or I found this situation that's helped me, but I'm going to keep it to myself, even though other people might be just in the same situation, or the same shoes that I'm in. I really wish it wouldn't have been stigmatized how it was. Oh yeah, or yeah, you get, especially in school, like yeah, those are people that's on the short bus, on the short yellow bus,
Yeah.
or
Yeah. Yeah.
well, you're less than because your class only has 8 people.
Mhm.
Maybe you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
100%. Yeah.
Um, it's in some ways, well, in a lot of ways, it's better now. But I will say this, because it's better accepted now, or more widely acceptable now. I think it's used as a crutch for people who don't actually go through that. And that to me is the unfair part. It's
Mhm.
like the people that have put in, put in the hard work to get this quote unquote mainstream, and have that be a mainstream topic, all because, all right, listen, if I'll liken it to this, and this might be unpopular, but I I agree that drug abuse to a certain degree is an illness, but do I want to say that it should be on? I mean, I know there shouldn't be tiers, but it should be on the same level as a disease, a physical disease. Because all right, because reality, it's an emotional and mental disease.
Mhm.
Like I said, I can look back and like, it's more of mind. It's physical, but it's also mind too. Like,
Yeah.
are you willing to deal with the repercussions of you stopping? And you're all right, the physical side effects of you stopping, the mental side effects of you stopping, you know. Um, but and I kind of lost my thought. But the reason I said that because I feel like some people, if you're on disability because you have and a lot of it has to do with our government, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Because in the 60s and 70s when people were using heroin, right? All right, that was the thing, that was the Indian doing. Then by the time the 80s, they'd be strung out, and did they really make any programs to get them the help of getting off heroin? Or did they just give you the substitute, which was methadone, which was just okay, legal heroin? You're still keeping them dependent.
Yeah.
All right, they're not going out to put a needle in their arm, but when they get the little bottle with the orange juice, the same shit. The same shit. Like, so if you fast forward to now, and I know I'm kind of diverting, but I think it all intermingles. You fast forward to now, where now it's this quote unquote, let's say, what was his name? Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah.
He
Yep.
which guy he overdosed. It was like,
Mhm.
oh my God, we gotta find the killer. We gotta find who gave him the lethal dose. I'm like, all right, in my neighborhood, there's certain streets that are pretty much heroin city. Are you going in those areas and trying to make sure that they don't get a lethal dose? Are you going to those areas to make sure that they're all right, or trying to get them help? Or is it because this is the actor and he he got a hot shot, for a lack of a better term? I mean, look, I'm not trying to be insensitive, but it's like, to me, it's the same difference. They just different class of people.
Yeah.
Did which guy did if that was happening in the 80s, would you have referred him? Would you have tried to get him clean, or would you have referred him to a methadone clinic? So these like the reason I guess the reason I went on this, because these are my realities. You know, um, these are my realities. Like, I've seen this. I've seen people struggle with this. I've seen methadone clinics where I'm like, like I would go and I would wonder, what's the orange juice for? And just so happened, I guess because of the taste, they had, how you go to like the old diners and everything, you got the big thing of juice.
Oh
You
yeah,
got the
yeah,
fruit
yeah.
juice, and
Yes.
so they had that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, darn, what's the why we got to come here for orange juice? And then they would get the orange juice, and then which go to see me and they're like, oh yeah, which go give them a little cup of the fruit juice and everything. And I'm like, darn, such and such comes here just to get juice. Shoot, man, they gave me juice for free. Like but I say all that. That's what paints my reality of how I see the differences of how things were treated before and how things are treated now. I guess I was speaking more about drug abuse or whatever, but that does have something that has something to do with your mental health.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, so it's just the way, it's like the way they I really think they should have been more open with a lot of things instead of trying to shield it and try to put a nice shiny coat of paint on it.
Yeah.
Because then you could have prevented people from falling down those holes. You could have prevented people from feeling like they was by themselves and isolated. And maybe, just maybe, there would be a bigger community of people willing to put their arms around you instead of still like, all right, now it's put your arms around you, but meanwhile they're snickering to the side like, oh yeah, he's one of those people. Because I'm quite sure there might be people that's listening to this or watching this, and because I've divulged more than I've done in the past, they probably look at me with a certain way. Do I care? Not really. But like I said, once again, that's you problem. That's not a me problem. That's, I guess that's the best way, even though I don't know if I answered your question.
No, you didn't. No, so if I bring it back, it's really hard from what you were saying. It is really hard, I think, for some people to look at it and we just look at drugs as a substance use disorder is the name of that, and then you can get into more specifics from there, but nobody looks at the underlying why. Like, how did this start? Are people self-medicating because of something that went long undiagnosed? Is this a healthcare issue? Because, like, we got a lot of people with disabilities that we don't know have disabilities. And here's the frightening thing with mental disabilities is that when you look at the diagnostic criteria, they can't actually diagnose you with anything if you are on drugs. So if you have a schizophrenic that decides to self-medicate because of the voices or because of hallucinations or crazy emotional stuff, and they go out of their way to take a hallucinogen, like the heroin, like LSD, like mushrooms, something like that, to kind of combat all of that, they even a mild one like weed, if you are using any of those things, they can't diagnose you with the thing that was causing you to go out of your way to do it in the first place. And then you're just stuck in this endless loop of you're not going to be able to get help. All you're going to get is arrested. And that's the thing that makes me so sad is I see people living for the next fix that otherwise probably if we had more open conversations at a younger age for these people and better systems, more affordable systems in place to help and treat these people so we can have an intervention, then maybe we don't have all of these problems. Maybe homelessness declines. Maybe our schools improve. Maybe who knows what could happen. Like, I'm getting all utopian in my head, but I always feel like there's an underlying mental health cause for 99% of that. Everything psychological is biological, but what are the biological components that need to be addressed in order to improve the psychology? And then from there, how can that then improve your physical aspects? So it all kind of, like you said, it all kind of intermingles. Like, personally, I feel infinitely better every day if I go to the gym. I feel miserable and sore, but I feel like good because I got up. I have a routine. I made a good decision, And then when I get to bad decision time, it's so much easier to make a good decision and be like, no, I'm going to go to bed early. No, I'm not going to eat this thing that's over there that's taunting me with all those calories. So no, I'm not going to do this. No, I'm not going to do that, because now I got the weekend and I can go be a little bit freer. During the week, I'm pretty regimented, but
Okay.
I tore through half a thing of Ben and Jerry's peanut butter pretzel ice cream last night, like just half a pint, in the dark by myself. It was glorious. I'm not depressed, but that ice cream was amazing. But I did skip a day on the Ritalin, and I did feel much worse. And I felt like aggressive and just on edge the whole time, partially because I was I don't know if you ever put new tires on a bike. Filled with rage out in that garage. It's like 1,000 degrees in there because I had to shut the garage door. Storm was blowing dust in. So I was like, all right, got to shut it. That's also a thing out here. The dust storms are a real problem because the outflow from a thunderstorm throws whatever's in the air, and what's in the air it's dust. It's dust. And gets in your teeth and your eyes. It's not a good time.